Okay, let's talk about a phrase that can kind of send a chill down your spine. Workplace discipline. I mean, for most of us, it just sounds like you're in trouble. But what if its real purpose isn't what we think it is? Today, we're going to break down what it really means and how it's actually supposed to work.
So, let me ask you this. When you hear workplace discipline, where does your mind immediately go? I'm willing to bet for a lot of you, it's that dreaded walk to the manager's office, right? Or that formal warning letter, maybe even that fear of losing your job. But is that really all it is? Is it just about punishment?
Well, as you might have guessed, the real story is so much broader and honestly a lot more constructive. So let's try to completely reframe how we think about what discipline is really for.
Let's just look at the actual definition for a second. Notice what's missing? There's nothing in there about penalties or punishment. Instead, it's all about orderly behavior and self-control. So at its core, it's really about creating a predictable, functional environment where everybody knows what's expected of them.
So think of it this way. Discipline is actually a management tool for guidance. The real goal isn't to play gotcha. It's to encourage good habits, gently correct things when they go off course, and ultimately, to build a workplace that's both harmonious and efficient. It's about helping people succeed, not catching them fail.
But look, none of this works if people feel the system is random or unfair. A good disciplinary process doesn't just happen by accident. It has to be carefully built, with a really clear blueprint.
And any fair system really rests on four main pillars. First, you've got to be clear about who is responsible for what. Second, you can't have fuzzy standards. You need to define what good performance actually looks like. Third, the rules have to be fair and actually relevant to the job. And finally, and this one is so important, you have to communicate those rules clearly to everyone. No secrets, no surprises.
Okay, so with that fair foundation in place, organizations typically follow one of two major paths when they actually need to take disciplinary action.
On one side, you've got what's called progressive discipline. This is all about stopping bad behavior through penalties that get more and more serious. But on the other side, you have positive discipline, which is totally focused on helping employees improve through coaching and problem solving. You can see their goals are just fundamentally different.
Let's dig into that progressive model for a second. Just think of it like a ladder of escalating consequences. It usually starts with something simple, like a conversation, an informal oral warning. If the behavior keeps happening, it moves up to a formal written warning, then maybe a suspension, and only as a last resort, dismissal. The whole idea is built on avoiding negative outcomes, which, can sometimes create a culture of fear or people just doing the bare minimum to stay out of trouble.
Now, compare that with the toolkit for positive discipline. Instead of a ladder of punishments, you have tools for improvement. It's all about dialogue, counseling, coaching, and actually working together to figure out the problem. The goal here is to build a sense of ownership and responsibility, which can have a huge positive effect on morale.
So, okay, we've got these two very different approaches. One is based on penalties, the other is all about partnership. Why is understanding this difference so critical for building a great place to work?
Because at the end of the day, a well-structured, fair process, no matter which philosophy you lean towards, it benefits everyone. It creates a work environment that's predictable and positive. It makes sure the business runs smoothly. And most importantly, it gives everyone a sense of justice because it corrects behavior while still respecting the person.
One of the sources we looked at just summed it up perfectly. The real takeaway here is that, at its best, discipline isn't about creating conflict. It's about building the harmony and efficiency that lets a whole team do their best work together.
So, that leaves us with one final question to think about. You have the path of escalating penalties, or you have the path of collaborative coaching. Which one do you think truly builds a stronger, more cooperative, and more committed team in the long run? Something to consider.